So you've got 12 books on the New York Times bestseller list over the years, and you're probably working on something for the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a weird career because I really never thought I would ever get anything published. I was always in awe of writers when I was a kid, and never even entertained the idea that I would get some work of fiction published. And the career just involved a lot of lucky breaks, and I really actually do. Sometimes I'll be walking down the street and I realize I have 12 books and all of them have been bestsellers, and I'll just start laughing because it seems so ridiculous. But it's so I'm really enjoying it. It's fun.
And you came to writing relatively late. It's not like you wanted to be a writer since you were 5 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird story. What happened was that I had a summer semester in law school at the very end when I had a job already waiting for me, and I didn't have too many classes, so I basically had a free summer, and I decided to write a novel to see how you do it. I could not understand how anyone could do 400 pages of stuff, and I'm a voracious reader. I read several books a week, and I would always say, how did this guy think up all that stuff? So I wrote a couple of novels just for me, not without any, and they were pretty bad too. I had no intention of trying to get them published. And then I got a short story published, and that gave me some self-confidence, but that was when I was in my 30s. And then I said, well, maybe I could do this because a national magazine actually bought the story. So I decided to do a fictional version of a very famous Oregon murder case, the Peyton Allen murders. And I had 5 chapters written when a friend of mine came out from New York, and it's a guy I'd been friendly with in law school but had lost track of, and he came out with his wife on vacation, and I told him he could stay at the house, and picked him up at the airport and asked him what he was doing, and it turned out he was one of 3 lawyers for the largest literary agency in the entire world. So I told him I was working on this novel, and I asked him, I said, I'd never met anyone who'd written a novel, I'd never met anyone in publishing, and I got a C+ in the only creative writing course I took in college, so I said, I don't know if this stuff's any good, could you just have someone at your agency read it and then say, oh yeah, this is pretty good, you should continue, or it's pretty awful and you should probably do something else. And 2 weeks later I came back from trial, and everyone in my office was sitting around at the law office with champagne, and I said, what happened? And they said, well, your agent called, and I didn't even know I had an agent. My friend had liked the chapters. He gave it to a guy who never sold a book before at the agency, someone who was just starting out, and said, my friend wrote this, see what you can do with it. And had he told me he was doing this, I would have been horrified, because it was really just a rough draft. And the guy had worked for an editor of pocketbooks before he came over to be an agent, and he showed it to this editor, and the editor really liked it, and the next thing I knew I had a publishing contract. So it's a very, very bizarre way to break into the business.
Yeah, that doesn't happen every day.
No.
And then you took a break for several years to really focus on your law career, and then came back with Gone But Not Forgotten?
Yeah, I mean, what had happened was that I always wanted to be a lawyer, not a writer. And I actually got 2 books published. Last Innocent Man came out in '81. But in between 78, when Heartstone came out, and '81, when The Last Innocent Man came out, as I said, I argued the U.S. Supreme Court. I started doing the battered women cases. Previous to that, my practice has been what any starting out lawyer is. It's a lot of drunk driving cases and shoplifts. But right around that same time when the books were published, I was starting to do big murder cases, huge appeals.
Keep you pretty busy.
Well, it wasn't so much that. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a criminal defense lawyer. The writing was a lot of fun, but it was a hobby, like, golf or stamp collecting, and what I wanted to do was be a criminal defense lawyer, and I'd always wanted to do that since I was a little kid, so I just put the writing on the back burner. And then in 1991 at a dinner party at our house, somebody gave me this, we were involved with a conversation about a moral and ethical issue that gave me the idea for Gone But Not Forgotten. And basically the question is, is there a criminal that's so hideous and has done something so awful that even if my general rule was I would represent anyone no matter who they were or what they'd done, but the question is, what would I do if like Hitler came to my office and wanted me to represent him, or Osama bin Laden, something of that sort? Would I pass in that instance because the fellow was so awful? And I thought, wow, would that be an interesting moral and ethical dilemma to give to a character in a novel? So my main character in that book is a woman attorney who's a wonderful, very nice, normal person who's also a crackerjack attorney with a national reputation for representing women in cases involving women's issues, like representing battered women, suing an anti-abortion group. And she's hired by Martin Darius, who is a very mysterious multimillionaire. The police think he's the Rose Killer, and if he is, he's this hideous serial killer who intentionally dehumanizes women before he kills them. And so this puts Betsy's views as a woman and as a person at odds with her duties as a defense attorney. And so I got this idea, and I thought, wow, that'd be, you know, this sounds like a pretty good idea, but I didn't know if I'd get it published because I had been out of the business for like 12 years.
Well, and that was your book back in. And speaking of Gone But Not Forgotten, we're just about out of time.
Oh, okay.
So I want to thank our guest today, Phillip Margolin, 12 books on the New York Times bestseller list, and his current book, Proof Positive. I want to thank our sponsors, the Friends of the Ashland Public Library, Keller Williams Realty, and the Book Wagon. I want to thank our viewers for watching. And remember, don't leave your fingerprints anyplace. And until next month, read a mystery. Thanks.